Hey everyone, Ray from RVing here once again, coming to you from a pretty sweet camping spot in northwest New Mexico called Angels Peak. Scenic area. So today I thought I'd give you a review of the Cougar after we've used it for 6 years. Not too long, I guess 18 months after we had it, I did a complete review of the Cougar. I'll post that in the description below if you want to go back and look at that again. But I thought now that we've had it for just about 6 years since we bought it, I'd go through and kind of give you our likes and dislikes. We've lived in it full time for 6 years now, so gotten to know it really well, and also let you know what's gone wrong, what's broken on it. So I'll call this the good, the bad, and the broken. Okay, let's go check it out. First thing I really like about it is the size. Comes in at about 30 feet long, weighs in at around 9,000 pounds, 9,500 pounds when we're fully loaded up, depending if we have a full tank of water or not. So with that size, we can get into some of the smaller sites. Like for instance here, we're able to squeeze into this little site. So it's been handy for getting into national parks and state parks, and also we don't need to worry much about reservations because places always seem to have a spot for a rig our size. Also, it tows really nice. It's always been very stable on the road, especially with my dually truck there. Never had a problem with sway or anything like that. Plows through the wind really nice. Corners really well, so I'm happy with the maneuverability of it, that's for sure. Another feature that I like that was super important to us when we were shopping around for a rig is something called cargo carrying capacity. So that's after the RV is all loaded up coming from the manufacturer. How much stuff can you carry in it? And this one's up around 2,800 pounds, which is pretty good for a 30-foot fifth wheel. I'm seeing a lot of the newer ones that are longer coming in at around 2,200 pounds. So if you're going to full time in it, it's good to have a lot of capacity for cargo. It keeps you from going overloading the rig. You overload the rig, you get all kinds of problems like tire blowouts and bent axles and things. So it's nice to have a rig that can carry a lot of stuff, especially if you're like us and you're boondocking a lot. So up front I got 4 big batteries in there, which adds a lot of weight to the rig. And yeah, that was one of the good features of it. Lots of carrying capacity. I have to also give our Cougar high marks for durability. In the winter months we like to come down here in the desert, and it's not uncommon for us to take it down some dirt and gravel roads, lots of washboard. Also traveling the interstate highways can be a nightmare with the potholes and cracked roads and stuff, and so far the Cougar's frame hasn't had any issues. As far as the tires and suspension and everything, the way it's set up, it's been fine. I have done a bit of, just last year I had to change out some suspension stuff, so I'll get to that in the repairs. But overall, the Phylon coating, they call it, on the sidewalls has been good. The front fiberglass cap's been good. The rubber roof's held well, so I can't complain. Very durable unit for us. So that's 6 years. Basic full-time living. We've been out of it a couple months here or there. We've traveled. The first year we traveled all around North America in it. Went all the way over to Newfoundland in Canada, down to Florida, around the Gulf Coast there, and back up through the desert to BC. And the following 5 years we've come down every year and driven down from BC all the way down to the Mexican border pretty well, and then looped around the desert and back. So I'd say we got 50,000-60,000 miles of towing on the old Cougar now, and she's pretty sweet, doing well that. So I'm really impressed that it hasn't had any major failures with the frame or anything. Gets us into really pretty spots like this, which is where we love to go. Okay, and I guess the final bit of the outside would be the windows and the roof. We haven't had any leaks at all. Windows have held up fine. So that kind of is all the good things on the outside. So let's go inside and I'll give you some views of what we like on the inside of the rig. Number one on the inside list, the things we like are the great big windows. So all around us, when we're sitting in our living area, we have nice large windows. So that way when we get into scenic spots, we can sit and look out. Really opens up the rig too, being a small rig. Open up the windows, you kind of feel like you're outside when you're inside, which is really handy on rainy days. Another thing I like is we have a lot of storage space. When we were shopping for rigs, storage was a biggie. So above the seating area here, we got a bunch of cabinets. They're about a foot deep. Swing around to the slide, and we have another set of cabinets. Go over the TV above there. Some more cabinets. They're not quite as deep. They're only 4 or 5 inches. And there's some cabinets beneath the TV as well. Then in the kitchen area, we have a ton of storage space. So we have up high, we have some big deep cabinets. I'll open one up so you can see. Usually we stick our food up here, sort of like a pantry. Nice and deep. Another one here. Nice and deep. Thank God I'm tall though. It's one thing about fifth wheels, you get a lot of high storage. Up here we use that for linens and blankets. And then we have a very big pantry that goes very deep, so we can stuff a lot of food and stuff into there. So yeah, storage was a biggie. And we really like this rig for storage. In the bedroom here, it's some more, it's sort of an armoire affair here, a little one. And then on each side of the bed we have our own little closet. Stick stuff in. Open it up here. So you can hang stuff and you get a shelf above. And then of course, like most RVs, the bed flips up. So underneath the bed there's a ton of storage. And we also have a bathroom cabinet with some storage underneath. And your medicine cabinet. Another thing we liked about the rig was it's sort of a split bathroom. So you have your sink and everything right in the same room as the bedroom. And that really saves on space. It just, you have to, share it. It's hard to be in the same room at the same time, but we're quite used to it. And then we got a nice big shower as well in the bedroom here. So by doing that, there's lots of room when we're changing. We're not stuffed in a little bathroom. And then we have one special room that's just for the toilet, which is really nice. You can have some privacy in there, and also it's got a vent and its own fan, so you can get rid of the nasty odors really quick. And for privacy of the bedroom, they have a pocket door in between. Sort of splits the rig in two. And if someone's sleeping and someone wants to sort of have a shower, there's a pull across curtain here as well. I know a few things I like. I really like the cabinets. This cherry wood, it's a real wood paneling for all the doors and the drawer faces. So that's held up really well and still looks really good. Really easy to clean, stays quite clean. I'm also surprised to say that I like the countertop. It's just a fake plastic. It's supposed to look like stone or whatever, but I thought, oh, that stuff's not going to last, but it's actually lasted quite well. I also like my little kitchen area. It's in the mid-rig area there. I do all the cooking, You know, it doesn't have a lot of counter space, but I've really figured it out, and I have no problem cooking up a good dinner there. And I like the spacing where the stove is right beside the work area and the sink. Microwave's right there, and the fridge opens, easy access, so then I can cook up a storm in that kitchen. Okay, enough gushing about all the things I like about the Cougar. Let's go through some of the things we dislike and some of the things that have cropped up that have gone wrong with it. We'll start with our dislikes and then move on to the repairs it's needed. You know, you live in a rig for 6 years, I don't care what brand RV or how much it costs, you're going to have some problems. So let's start with a few outside things. One thing I'm starting to notice now is the seals on the compartment doors aren't that good. They went with sort of a cheap foam seal. I would have preferred a rubber. It's going to be a job for me, I guess. But you can see down here that one's starting to wear out and peel off. So yeah, they just use a cheap foam seal on all the storage bays. And let me show you what they have for the doors. Okay, so they used rubber on the main door, but the screen door seals that same cheap foam. Let's go over here, and you can see it's already all starting. I guess at the UV, it's starting to dry out, and with the sun, it's breaking down and peeling off. So I'm going to try to find something better than that foam. Find a rubber seal to put on that. Okay, up on the roof here, and this was one of my biggest dislikes, was the way they sealed the back corners of the roof. Now you can see I've put a bunch of patch tape on there called Editon. I've done a number of videos on that, so that's appeared in my videos. And you can see right there where it comes from the air conditioner, I put a little bit of rope along there and put tape over it. And that provides a channel for the water, because all the roof is pretty well sloped to the back, and I noticed it would all go and just pool up in the corner there, so it wouldn't actually hit the outside gutter over there. It would pool in that corner, and then it would just run down the corner beads. So that freaked me out about leaks, so I put in that extra diversion channel there. And then I've also put the Editon tape on there. So that's been on there a couple of years now, and it's looks as good as the day I laid it. A little bit of dirt around where I put some Dicor on the seams to keep it from peeling or anything, but that's been great. So I'm much happy with that, and hopefully I won't get any leaks, but I really didn't like their corner design. One dislike I really dislike, pain in the butt, is if you look between the wheels there, you see that handle. That's my galley tank. So I have a black, a gray, and galley. And the black and the gray are in the storage compartment, but the galley, they stuff between the tires, which would be fine, except, well, you got it, that's where my slide out is. So guess who gets to crawl under there all the time to pull it out, push it in. That's a dumb place to put it. Okay, let's switch to the inside bad stuff we don't like. Well, I guess big on the list would be this Biko. Ooh, she's bad, especially when it gets close to dinner time. Starts crying and crying like a little baby. Right? Yeah, give me some dinner. Another thing we didn't like was the furniture. The stuff that came with the rig, the rear chairs here, and it had kind of a flip-out jackknife mini sofa, and it came with that table with 4 chairs. So we've since pretty well turfed all the furniture and improved upon it. So Anne's got her nice chair there, nice leather chair she can lounge on. I built that day bed for myself so I can lay out and watch TV, and Anne can snooze during the day on it. We also we each got a computer chair rather than the dining room chairs, because then we can just sit in our computer chairs when we eat, and we have nice chairs to sit in rather than those hardwood chairs. So that's my little desk I built there. You can see all my renos that were done. There's a whole series of them. I'll post them in the description below. We also ripped out most of the carpeting, and we installed this, it's called Infinity Luxury Vinyl Flooring in the slide. We also did it in the bedroom, because that carpeting was really hard to clean. It was really crappy carpeting. Kind of suits the furniture. Everything was junk. Most of it lasted about 6 months to a year before it started getting kind of grungy looking. So we're really happy with the upgrades. First year or two, I liked the kitchen sink. It's kind of a white plastic sink. But lately, it's starting to show its age really bad. You can see there's some stains in there, and that's really the plastic has started to scratch, and now it holds dirt, so it's extremely hard to keep clean. I think I'd like to go to a stainless sink. That'll be I think a mod for this summer, maybe a stainless sink, and upgrade some of the plastic. The faucets have worked fine and everything. They don't leak or anything, but I'd like to maybe upgrade some of the faucets in the rig. Let's go into the bathroom area here. A couple things in the shower. I wasn't a fan of the faucets. They had a multi-turn type faucet. You had to turn about 3 times to turn it full and back to off. So I switched to a quarter turn faucet. So you just have to turn a quarter. It's much easier to find a decent temperature level. And we swapped out the OEM shower head. Was really cheap, kind of a really wussy flow to it, and we put in a Oxygenics. That's I think it's called Fury RV or RV Fury. It's got 5 different levels on it, and also is high pressure, but it saves on the water, so it's great for boondocking. The shower stall's been okay. Can't say anything really bad against it. It's nice and big. Lots of light from the skylight up there, so we're pretty happy with that. A couple negative things to say about the bedroom. We can't walk around the bed. There's kind of a lip here, so you have to stand in the corner there. I'm kind of agile. I crawl in. Anne's not too tall, so she can actually stand on her side. One real bad drawback is because our heads are right against the front of the fifth wheel, which is the fiberglass cap. They didn't insulate at all, so there's the fiberglass cap, and then on that wall behind there's no insulation. And the bed also sits on the front frame, and then there's nothing under the frame because that's the front of the fifth wheel. So all that leads to it getting really cold. So if we're in really cold weather, it can get quite cold around our heads up there, and if it's blowing, we can actually feel air blow through the back shelf there, so that's not so great. Maybe I can take it apart and insulate it, but that's definitely one negative to the rig. A lot of people have the slide outs that go out to the side, so I don't know about them. Maybe they're a little better. I know you can walk around them, but it's all trade-offs. Another thing is Anne likes to drink a tea at night or whatever, a glass of milk, and she had really nowhere to, there's no night table, and there's a little table behind our heads, but it's hard to get to, so I ended up, to solve that, I just put in a flip down cup holder for her. Kind of make do with that. A couple other things I didn't like about the original Cougar equipment. One was the thermostat was the analog kind of slide control unit, and it had quite a temperature separation between when the furnace would kick on or kick off, so it'd end up too cold and then too hot. So I've upgraded it to a digital one with only a 1 or 2 degree temperature separation. Also, this one has an auto mode, so for heating and cooling we set our desired temperature, put it in auto, and then it'll fire on during the day if it needs AC, and at night it'll come on for heating. We don't have to go and flick a switch or anything like that. Also, this monitor panel, we had kind of those dummy lights where it would tell you empty, 1/3, 2/3 full, and the battery was like fair, good, or charging. They were almost useless. So we updated it to a sea level tank monitor system here. So I can tell my fresh water 83%. It doesn't go down 1% at a time, but it drops down 4%. But it's a lot more accurate. Tell how much is in our gray or our galley. So really handy for boondocking. And it also gives me an indication of my my batteries at 13.6 instead of just some dummy light. I also have the trimetric one that I installed, but this is sort of just an upgrade panel to the OEM affair. Another thing that was irritating was the water pump. They decided to mount it right in this little corner right at the rear of the rig. I guess that because it's really close to the water tank underneath, but it was quite loud, almost like a machine gun going off when we turned it on. So I changed the cabinet design a bit, and I also swapped out the water pump. See down there, I took out the flow jet that was a 3-chamber pump, and I put in this 4-chamber SureFlow, and then I added a bunch of looping of hoses so that it before they had it kind of all encased in foam, everything was solid, so it would vibrate the floor like crazy when it was pumping. So with this extra hosing, there's also a winterizing kit in there. That's that brass thing you see. But that's quieted down a lot. Also with the 4-chamber pump, I find I get a lot smoother flow. I can actually turn the tap on just halfway and get a decent flow, which helps save water when we're boondocking as well. Okay, moving on with some more bad stuff. The AC, we have a 13.5K BTU. I forget what, I think it was a Coleman Mach or something, or anyway, it's a standard air conditioner. But the way this rig is insulated, it just doesn't do the job. Once we hit about 85 degrees, we can't keep it cool enough. Once we hit 90, 95, it just can't keep up, and we can't keep it really cool in here, unfortunately. I wish maybe they had a better air conditioner, but I think it comes down to the rig is just not sealed properly, or not insulated as well as it could be. You know, being a cheaper unit and a lighter weight unit, you know, trade-offs, what can you do? Also, the big windows don't help. Even though they're double paned, you got a lot of window space, so that's a trade-off for us. We love our big views, but unfortunately it makes the rig a lot warmer and then also colder. Once it gets down under freezing, it has a tough time keeping warm. The furnace just runs constantly. So that's one thing I wish was different. I wish we had a little better insulation all around so that the cooling system and heating system wouldn't have to work so hard to keep us cozy in here. Okay, and a final little nitpicking drawback. Anne wanted me to point this one out. You see where they put this armoire right against the shower? Well, there's this nice little space they left in between, a little bit of flooring down there, and with all the dust and dog hair, that place captures dirt, and it's really hard to get in there and clean, so kind of sucky. I got her a long screwdriver to poke in there with a rag to try to clean it, but it's kind of a pain. Right, Annie? Yeah! Okay, so finally let's go through and give you a look at the broken things that have broken and needed repaired on the rig. It may seem like a lot, but 6 years is a long time living full-time in this rig. It's actually designed more of as a weekend or summer vacation rig. It's definitely not a full-timer's unit, so I would expect things to go wrong, and I'm actually surprised at how many things haven't broken, you know, like awnings and slide outs and all kinds of stuff like that haven't broken. So anyway, let's go through the things that have broken, starting with the fridge and the water heater. which are appliances you'll find almost in any brand, so I can't really accuse Keystone very much. Let's start with the fridge. Let me get that cover off. Okay, so the fridge is a Dometic. I think it's a DM2652 LBX, if I remember correctly. And the first thing that went wrong with it was after about 2.5 years, the electrical element gave out. That's it right there. Runs down into this boiler unit, chimney. So I had to replace that. It was only around $120 or so, and I did that myself. Wasn't too difficult. Then, just this year, only a few months ago, the actual piping gave out. Somewhere it developed a leak in it, a pinhole somewhere, and all of a sudden all the ammonia came out one day. And fortunately for us, we had a extended warranty and the whole thing got replaced, so this is a brand new fridge for us. And I have to say, compared to the old one, even though they're the same model, this one cools dramatically better. Like our ice cream's hard as a rock now. It actually cools so much better. I'm really impressed. So I know they've changed the design here because the boiler and the cooling piping was much different. And the old one had a really annoying fan on it. I actually changed it to a quieter fan. It would drive you crazy. It would cycle on and off. This one actually doesn't even have a fan and cools great. So whatever they've done to the newer Dometic fridges, thumbs up. Next was the water heater. A couple things on it. The first thing that went wrong was after a few years. If you look down here, there's the electrical on-off switch on the outside here. And that actually I had to replace twice. I had 2 failed switches. So I think what it is, it's an undersized switch for the amount of current that goes through it. So I'll have to watch that. This is actually a brand new water heater. You can look back a few posts. I did a complete install post and video on that, how I installed it. So the reason I had to, if you look back, is it ended up having a bad spot weld in this burner chamber here. And it took about over 5 years to happen, but eventually it rusted through that spot weld and I had a leak. So I had to install myself a brand new water heater. Next repair it needed was about 2 years ago, and that had to do with the landing legs, your front power landing legs. The motor here was fine, but this is like a little transmission gearbox, and there's a little tab here that holds it in place when it flicks back and forth. And it had a plastic box. I've since replaced it with an aluminum, but one of those tabs snapped off, and this thing almost spun around. Luckily I caught it before it spun around and caused major damage. And then it wasn't too long after that, went over here, this other side, this landing leg, it goes through down to your jacks, landing jacks here. Well, that thing stopped working, and inside that leg, I'll have links to all the repairs in my blog post or maybe the description of the video, but inside there was a collar nut that the main screw went through that moves it up and down, and it stripped out. So I had to replace the landing leg. I actually ended up replacing both of them at the same time, but I'm pretty sure that strip nut might have led to the other failure. Not 100% sure, but makes sense. So yeah, that was an easy replacement on this. Only undo a few bolts and it dropped out, and it was easy to put back in. The leg comes all assembled. But I have a pretty thorough video of that repair if you're interested or having problems with your landing legs. Okay, so now we're underneath the rig. I'm going to show you what needed to be repaired on the suspension. It's pretty muddy under here. The other day we went through a pretty good little mud puddle. So, like I say, I don't baby this unit. We go everywhere with it. So let's just scooch over here. And what had to be replaced, the equalizers here, the trail air equalizers, which have been really good. They really help smooth out the ride. Both of those were worn out. Up here, they were kind of egg-shaped. on the bushing there. All the bushings inside here, they just use nylon, so everywhere you see a bolt, the bolts and bushings were all changed, and the shackles were changed too. So that was done on both sides. I didn't do that myself. I don't really do the repacking of the bearings or any of this work myself. It's just too hard to do in a campground. So I took it into the dealer I bought the rig off of, and they did the work on it. So quite happy with it. It was after about 5 years, it was squeaking pretty good. And you could hear it going, and that's all the bushings and stuff were wearing out quite badly. But after they did the job, everything's smooth as pie. Another problem I had was the brake drum here. I'm not going to take it apart and show you. I'll throw up a picture in this video, but there was a small kind of bushing in there that cracked, and it actually needed to be replaced. The shop that did it replaced the whole brake drum, the whole assembly. You can see there's just 4 bolts. I think they're only around $90, changed the whole thing. And they did that. When I had these shackles and bushings and equalizer changed, I had them look at the brakes, and they were saying they're at actually about 50% still, so that's 6 years. But a lot of highway driving. You don't have to hit the brakes too much. That's about it underneath. Haven't had too much failures. Our rear stabilizers have been good. What else? We have a pull-out bike rack, and it's been fine. Every once in a while I come underneath here and inspect all the welds and stuff like that. No cracked welds, and both the axles have been good. No problems there. So that's been good. Another repair I had to do early on, actually within the first year, was replace the pigtails on the propane system here. The original pigtail, they have kind of a safety valve in them, and it failed, and then stuff like the furnace and the water heater wouldn't work. So I took it into a propane guy in an RV park. He had a little shop there, and I got him to put new pigtails. Also got him to replace the auto changeover valve here, and that's all Marshall stuff he put in there. The original equipment wasn't very good. He thought it was pretty cheap, so he put in a little bit higher end stuff, and it's worked awesome ever since. While we're in here, the running lights. I had a problem with my marker lights. Every once in a while they would blow a fuse in the truck, and it drove me crazy because it would come and go. And then one time when I was loading and unloading the fifth wheel off the truck, I found the problem. See, there's a marker light on this side. Well, the wire goes through along underneath there, right about where the frame meets the floor of the inside, and it would actually pinch. I'd load the rig, and there's a little bit of movement, and it would pinch the wire, and every once in a while it would short circuit. So that was a difficult one to find. All I did is I ended up running a new wire from marker light to marker light, cut the old one, and I just ran it through the compartment instead. So I was happy when I found that one. Drive you crazy having your marker lights work, and then suddenly, poof, fuse blows. Then you go put a new fuse in, works again. Those intermittents can be a pain. Next broken thing was the black tank. The actual waste tank valve case cracked. Also, I've replaced, these were plastic handles, so I've replaced them with metal handles. I was always breaking off the plastic one, especially when I'm RVing and it's really cold out and the plastic gets brittle. Give it a good yank, all of a sudden snaps. So put on some aluminum ones. I've also had to replace the shaft a few times. I've bent and broken them. And I carry a spare waste tank valve just in case. Like I say, the black one, the case here, it didn't actually start to leak, but one time I was inspecting and there was a good sized crack going through there, so to go in and change it before it completely failed. One thing I'd like to do is, I see they now have automatic electric dump valves. that work off your 12-volt system. You just push a button and they open and close, right? Then you don't need to have the pull levers. So that's one mod I'm looking to do in the future, install all electric dump valves. And another thing I'm constantly repairing on this is the ladder. I think this is a ladder by Atwood, Kimberly Atwood. And you can see, if I go in close, it cracks. These little plastic end caps are constantly cracking. And so I'm having to replace them all the time. I'm out of them right now, so got a couple cracked. I better get on that, because if they get too bad, it'd be a shame if I was climbing the ladder and it failed. I think I'll replace this whole ladder with a better one. Add it to the old huge wish list, right? Okay, well, there you go, folks. I hope if you're out RV shopping, that maybe will help you kind of get an impression of things that can go wrong and things to look for when you're out buying a rig. It seems like a lot of things have gone wrong, but overall, I'm super pleased with the Cougar. It's been good value for us. I think we paid somewhere, it was in the neighborhood of 30,000 Canadian dollars, which nowadays is probably about 24,000 American. So that's 6 years of full-time use, and I'm hoping it'll last us a good 10, 15. I think we'll be in it for a number of years. We gone rig shopping quite a bit, gone to RV shows, and we haven't seen anything really that we would desperately want to trade it in for. So we're happy with it, and I've done so many mods on it, kind of made it our own. So we'll keep her. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. It's Ray from LoveYouRV.com. Get back to enjoying this awesome place. Pretty soon I'll have a little video review of this place. It's called Angels Peak Scenic Area up in northwest New Mexico. You actually see those mountains up there. I believe they're in Colorado, those snow-capped peaks. But just awesome. Cheers, everyone.